Everybody, David Serpa at eXp Realty here for those of you tuning in on YouTube, and I am starting my video here today. I want to say thank you for making the book break the top 100 in Amazon, number 54 in autism, and the #1 new release in children's health currently. So thank you for that. I will be speaking tonight at 7 p.m. in Dr. Kathleen Rapp's Autism Spousal Support Group in Encinitas. I've been asked to speak about avoiding victimhood / being an autistic hero and managing meltdowns. I apologize in advance for any generalizations that I make while reading this book, but it is something that I do to try to push knowledge forward in general. This is chapter 10 in my book, The Autism Spectrum, and the reading will last for about 20 minutes here. So here we go. Chapter 10, The Autism Spectrum. A lot of people think that the autism spectrum is a straight line that goes from mild to severe, as Carrie Beckwith Fellows points out in her TED Talk, Invisible Diversity, a story of undiagnosed autism. It is not a straight line. It is more of an overlapping pie chart. Sensory issues can affect touch, smell, sight, taste, and sound. Many of our senses are heightened. It's not that I have Spider-Man senses, but some of us are more sensitive to things like light, for example. When I was in the Marine Corps, I saw muzzle flashes 800 to 1,200 meters out in the distance, and I would open up with my machine gun on target, and everyone would be wondering where we were being shot at from. I would have to tell them, follow my burst, and show other Marines the target. Sight sensitivity comes into play in Walmart, Costco, and other fast food restaurants. Bright lights that strobe in patterns that are imperceptible to most cause me headaches. In addition, I am overwhelmed by all the people, product, and movement. We are detail-oriented when it comes to sight, and we take in all of the little pieces at the same time. There's an excellent slide that Temple Grandin plays in her TED Talk of a bunch of tiny H's making one big H, and a bunch of tiny S's making one big S. Neurotypical people will see the big picture first, the big H, the big S, whereas people on the spectrum will see all of the little tiny letters that are making up the big letter first. My sense of smell is very intense, and I associate certain smells with times in my life, and a smell can trigger a certain response in my body that will start making my heart race. For this reason, grocery stores can be uncomfortable for me. I have to get in and out of grocery stores quickly. I like firm touch and comfortable clothing. I am a creature of habit, and every morning I put on sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a hooded sweatshirt, a beanie, and long socks. It is very comforting to start my day off gently in this way. It eases me into the day. I wore sweatpants through most of my middle school, even though my mom suggested that I start wearing jeans because I don't like the way that jeans feel on my legs. At night, I have to sleep under blankets, even if I am hot, because I enjoy the pressure on my body. It feels safe to have blankets wrapped under my feet, to have a pillow up against my chest, and sometimes I will even wrap the blanket over the top of my head so that nothing except for my face is exposed. Food texture is more important to me than food taste. I've gotten better with age, but I don't like food that is slimy. Over easy eggs are disgusting for me to even look at. I don't want to put them in my mouth. When I was growing up, I would gag if I had to eat yogurt, cottage cheese, or cereal that didn't stay crunchy. I can be more easily stimulated and sent into a state of hyperarousal with sound more so than anything else, like these dogs barking right now. I can't stand repetitive bass riffs on 3-second loops. Normally I would put on my headphones, but it doesn't look good right now with the hat. And I didn't do my hair today. So we're going to go ahead and keep the hat on and just deal with the dogs barking. I can't stand repetitive bass riffs on a 3-second loop. If I hear a bass riff being oversampled and it is louder than the other music, my heart starts racing and I start getting angry. I can't stand a lot of music that is played in dance clubs. And when you partner that with incessant flashing lights and people bumping into you every 2 seconds, it becomes a hostile environment. I do a lot of my writing outside while listening to music, and my house backs up to a road, and 2 doors down on the other side is a stop sign. There are times it is extraordinarily peaceful out back, and then someone will rev their engine at the stop sign, and I'm immediately furious. My best friend Zach used to drive by my house at any hour of the day, and he would honk his horn and yell random things, and it would infuriate me. All I had to do was tell him. Some days and times are worse than others, and everyone will be out doing yard work and cars passing by every 2 seconds on their way to work. On those days, I will put my headphones on. A friend of mine and a fellow Marine recently offered for me to come start hanging out with him in his motorcycle club. He explained it all to me: the bike, the symbology, the symbolism of the club, and the unity. While the biker is symbolic of freedom and independence. I love the symbolism, and it jives with much of who I am as a person, but I have to be realistic. I can't even listen to somebody rev their engine without getting pissed off. I don't like loud bars, and I don't like most people. I had to decline, at least for now. As much as I enjoy this guy, I know it will not be putting myself in a situation where I will be comfortable simply because sensory overload leads me to overdrive. And overdrive is a place that I have no control. Part of the problem that neurotypical people have around people on the spectrum is they don't know how to calm us down and often make the problem worse. 2 examples that make people think that they are being soothing that can actually escalate a meltdown are light touch and high voices. Many women talk in very high-pitched voices when they get excited or are trying to be soothing, but the squealing that is done sends me into overdrive, and all I want to do is get away. When this is accompanied by light soothing touches on the arm or on the back of the neck, I literally want to run away. Firm touch by someone that I trust is much more soothing. A hug is firm touch. My wife will notice when I'm having a rough time, and she'll come over to me when I'm sitting down and place 2 hands over one side of my head and pull the other side of my head close to her chest. This is the most soothing thing that anyone has ever done for me as an adult. I stop listening to everything else, and I close my eyes and listen to her heartbeat. Part of the reason why sounds are so important when it comes to soothing is that many of us have incredible hearing. We pick up on details and pitch perfectly. This is probably part of the reason why Mozart was able to listen to and play back music perfectly. We are also sensory-based animals. Typical people, we observe the world through our senses and piece by piece like an animal would, and we don't stare at the big picture for long periods of time. We see all of the little details. It's all the little pieces of the sunset that make it so beautiful. The shades of the color in the sky fading into the night, or the stars starting to appear. It is the general settling of the day and the birds flying across the landscape. The different sounds that wind makes as it blows through the different trees. It is the way that the sun feels on our cheeks and warms our clothing in contrast to the night breeze as it's picking up and blowing against the back of our necks. It doesn't make the sunset any more or any less beautiful. So it would make sense, like animals, we make noises around the people that we are comfortable around. My wife enjoys my little sounds and grunts, and she makes a lot of them back at me, as do my kids. Not a lot of people on the spectrum do all of these things, but I do. Some people on the spectrum, as Noah Britton points out in his TED Talk, have echolalia. This is defined as unsolicited repetition of vocalizations made by another person. If you were to say to the person with the echolalia, "How are you?" they may repeat back, "How are you?" in the exact intonation, because the intonation is often more important than the words themselves and is a method of communication. Someone with this disorder may repeat pieces of music, movies, or other important or seemingly unimportant phrases again and again for years to come. In The Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman's character repeats back Abbott and Costello's routine, "Who's on first?" incessantly. I apologize, my allergies are bothering me. Most people have their routines while not acknowledging them as routines. This is not obsessive compulsive disorder, but comfort found in structure. A routine can be something as obvious as eating certain meals or having certain drinks at the same time of day, every day. It can also be something like arranging cards, taking cups of water and pouring them back and forth, or keeping schedules. The lighthouses of comfort that we know we can hold on to depend on us to self-regulate. One of the ways to tell if you're a routine person is to think, how would I be affected by missing my routine? Well, how well do you handle a wrench in your plans? I have a lot of writing by people with Aspergers that I have heard about drinking the same cup of tea every night at the same time, or drinking a cup of coffee at 3 times at specific types of day. And I've had my own morning routine. I sit down outside and I smoke and I drink a cup of coffee while I read, or I go in and top off my cup of coffee and I'll read a little bit longer. If I miss this part of my day, it is often hard for me to adjust to the rest of my day. I feel cheated if I didn't get it, and I can get grumpy. Some stimming looks uncontrollable to people and without reason. And while some of it is uncontrollable, it is not without reason. I fixate on the number 4, and a lot of my stimming comes with repetitive movement on my fingers and in my legs and in my eyeballs around the number 4 and multiples like 4, 8, 12, 16, 28, and etc. I also might have looked ridiculous or spastic when I was younger, but by rubbing my fingertips together by both of my ears, it gives me an opportunity to soothe myself by blocking out the noise. Rubbing my hair in between my fingers helped as well, and often I would cause my hair to ball up and not at the front of my head. When I was a child, I soothed myself by rubbing the silk edges of my blue blanket. I see a lot of people posting things like, they say sarcasm is a sign of intelligence. I see this post all the time on Facebook, and I want to say, most of your posts are not indicative of a sign of intelligence. Dude, I'm joking. Duh, clearly. There are a lot of things I don't think are funny that other people think are funny. I had to get comfortable not laughing. I don't fake laugh, and I find people that do extraordinarily annoying. Entire groups of friends walking around fake laughing at one another. I don't think it's funny to joke around about real children that have died or lived horrible lives. Some comedians think that this makes them edgy. It's not for me, for all the reasons that I listed above. I'm always everyone's favorite guy at the party. Was that a good shot at sarcasm? Another reason people love to have me around is my super intense body language. Man, that guy was an asshole, I would say to my wife as we were leaving for a social gathering. I know you thought he was an asshole, and so did everyone else at the party. I would argue, I didn't say or do anything to him. She would respond, you didn't need to. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I also wear my angry unibrow on the same place. If I'm not careful to keep my mask on, at least a little bit in social situations, then I can come off as an asshole immediately. That being said, some people just get me. When you are an Aspie, the biggest thing in the world is being misunderstood. There's massive appreciation that borderlines on extraordinarily emotional gratitude that comes with people that take the time to understand me, love me, and then decide to stick around. The people that listen to what I am saying instead of what is being said. All of the people that understand me are incredible listeners, which is good because I can talk. I try not to interrupt people, and I try to take breaks to let other people speak, but when I get excited, it is hard to shut me up. I enjoy intellectual conversations, and I enjoy my close friends. I learn a great deal from them about life, love, me, and the universe, but I have to remember to listen. Sleeping at a friend's house as a kid, or staying at a hotel as an adult can lead to sleepless nights. Trying to fall asleep to the sound of a ticking clock, an hourly chime, or falling asleep with the radio on or the TV flashing is impossible for me. Bright alarm clocks, lights coming in through blinds or curtains will keep me up, and I have to address these things before I lay down and go to bed. I will put a shirt over an alarm clock, take the batteries out of a wall clock, turn on my noisemaker, all before I go to sleep. Executive function, the ability to plan, organize, and complete tasks is something that people on the spectrum lack. I can see what I want in a finished product, and I can see what it looks like in my head. I can see what needs to happen to get it there, but I have an unrealistic expectation of the world around me because of my difficulty conveying some of these concepts in a way that is palatable for the world around me. As Temple Grandin says, she had to get used to selling the flushed out idea on paper, not her. I come off as manic, intense, and all over the place. And it's more to do with my ability to convey the inner workings of my brain to the world around me. I have a great deal of difficulty organizing emails, paying bills on time, or making sure corporations have been filed, taking care of and managing books, handling the ins and outs of government bureaucracies, and general organization and housekeeping. I have worked to keep people around me that are organized and are meticulous. One of those people is my wife. Being trusting, transparent, and not valuing money leaves people with Asperger's ripe for being taken advantage of by the people around them. It also puts us in a situation where we can overgive without realizing we are doing so. In the series Atypical on Netflix, a young man is going around collecting money for a party that he wants to throw. He comes across the main character, a young Aspie in high school, who has recently taken over control of his own finances. And the young man accepts the $800 that he has in his wallet, and our Aspie gives it to him, not realizing how much money he has in actuality. I am very fortunate in that I understand how to make money. But I donated to every soccer, baseball team, baseball organization in school that called me looking for sponsorship. I spent thousands of dollars on free events for my community without an ask. I gave thousands of dollars in loans that I was never paid back. So I no longer spend money. I just make money. I do very well understanding how it comes in, but I overgive. And I think as long as I can still afford my groceries and my mortgage, I will be fine. I didn't think it was unethical to write off business lunches, so I didn't. I didn't understand the way that a corporation worked. I only knew that I should have one. My wife came into a bit of a mess when she married me without knowing it. On the inverse, I'm very good with language. I grew up reading and loving Shakespeare. I hate reading real estate contracts, but I can understand them very well. I am an incredible contract lawyer. I know my business and I can calculate real estate taxes off the top of my head. I know my market and I have the square footage memorized for all the homes and all the models that we sold in the first 3 years. I know the models I like and that I don't like and in my area based on the square footage alone. I also know if they have a loft without looking at the pictures because of this, and whether or not they have an open kitchen. I know all of the low tax and high tax areas like a map, street by street in my head, and I also know where all of these prices are everywhere, so I can tell someone very quickly if we can make their wants happen and what we can try. We can start by being strategic and thinking about new options that will open up what is really important to them. I love parts of my job. I knew what to talk about and what not to talk about. As an agent, I talk properties and contracts. You talk to a lender about everything with payments or tax related. I would do my best, but these are things that I'm not good at. And on all of those things, they talk to a lender, while I remain proficient. Another ugly head of executive function is my ability to keep track of time. I not only lose track of time, but I set goals for myself that don't have the concept of time considered properly. I think I can get everything done in half the time that it actually takes for me to complete the task. I have to set alarms. I don't lose track of time and forget an appointment. Forget not to stay at an appointment for too long, or to even forget to eat. If I know I'm going to have a busy day, I have to set an alarm on my phone to remind me to eat. When I was young, I used to write notes all over my hands with things that I need to do. I did it again today. This is the more adult way of doing things, writing them in notebooks. People with Asperger's have their areas of profound brilliance. By contrast, we also have our areas where we lack heavily. By perceiving the world as small pieces that are put together, we focus on the things that others would not. We are still getting information and thinking, just not about what you might be thinking about. For example, people think that we zone out, but really we are zoning in, as I've heard it referred to in the ASD community. Temple Grandin gives the example, for a different reason, of a dog smelling a fire hydrant. The dog will smell the fire hydrant and they are gleaning information. Who has been there? How recently? If they are down to mate, etc. Recently, Kate caught me zoning in. And she said, "What is it, boy?" She thought that something was bothering me, but I was just thinking about which pen I wanted to bring in with me to the meeting. I held a United Healthcare pen, and I didn't know where it came from. It worked, but I didn't want the pen to give the wrong impression about me, that I was unstable. I decided to bring the pen anyway. I am a very intentional person, so when I am not considering someone else's opinion, it can come off as intentional or rude, but I just get fixated. I have had several great business partners in the past that have had the ability fixation and bring me back to the real world to function. I am also a dreamer, and I see the world for what it is right now and what it could be. The bridge sometimes seems so tiny, and I hope I can push, but I am often let down by my big dreams if they are not managed or followed with reckless abandonment. I've been able to achieve a lot because I am unrealistic. High functioning and low functioning does not relate to the severity of where the person falls on the spectrum, but to their IQ level, above 70, being high functioning, and whether or not they are verbal. Nonverbal typically being low functioning. A person can suffer a great deal from autism and still be considered high functioning. I wouldn't say that I suffer. I would say that I have suffered, and occasionally I suffer from Asperger's because of the time. There are times that I enjoy it. I wouldn't trade my brain. I wouldn't trade my life. Knowing I have Asperger's gives me an appreciation for life and a better guidebook than the one that I was playing with. It also allowed me the ability to be more gentle and more forgiving with myself because I have a better understanding of my wiring. I better understand my deficiencies, but I also have a greater understanding of where I fit quite wonderfully into this world. This gives me more of an opportunity to prepare myself, but it also gives me an opportunity to see how I might be able to thrive over a long period of time in the right environments. If I can understand me, I can forgive me. If I can forgive me, I can heal. If I can understand me, I can heal. By taking time and understanding ourselves, we will better set ourselves up for not repeating the mistakes of our own paths, the mistakes of our parents, and maybe even some of the nasty patterns and cycles that we continue to journey through and repeat in our world. Thank you for watching.